Perfect. All right. Our guest today is someone I look up to very much. He's a strategic director currently to the president of NASBAR, author, realtor, coach, mentor. He's coached thousands of people across 30 different states. And it's my pleasure to have him here in the studio today, Mr. Wayne Paprocki. Wayne.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here. Anxious to share some thoughts, bring some insight, and maybe give somebody a little nudge.
I love it. Well, I think you're going to give people more than a little nudge today. So we're pretty excited. So Wayne, walk us through the journey. You've been a real estate agent for 50 years, roughly about basically 40 to 50 years?
40 years or so. My background is basically corporate consulting and training. So I have a lot of major corporate clients many years ago. GE, Pepsi, major insurance companies, stock brokerages, Fortune 500 companies, home warranty companies. And I happened to get on the GRI circuit, Graduate Realtors Institute, when it was a 1-week session across the country. Every state did it for a whole week. So we'd travel around the country, and someone suggested I get a real estate license. So I figured, well, I like the flexibility. I like the unlimited possibility of income. And I feel I need time freedom and life freedom. So I went to a community college for $50, got a license. And that became the nucleus to start selling. And because I'm big on goal setting, big on knowing how to negotiate, big on how to handle objections, and I'm not afraid to prospect by knocking on doors, walking, whatever it takes, it worked out pretty well. So at the point of my strength, I actually took 67 listings in 70 days, no relatives or no builders. Everything sold in 6 months back then. And then the other aspect I noticed for myself, I read a book by Andrew Carnegie years ago. And he said 90% of the self-made millionaires did it in real estate and owning businesses. So I decided that's the pattern. No sense rediscovering the wheel. So I start the real estate business. Then I decided I'll open up my own home inspection company, my own home warranty company, my own design company, my own remodeling company, and create multiple streams of income. And so oftentimes my transaction commission was less than my commissions off selling furniture, remodeling a house, selling them a home warranty, selling them home inspection, etc. So I brought everything together because I firmly believe agents need multiple streams of income, which brings me to the point that I'm very strong on agents every year they're in the business buying at least 2 income properties for their own benefit, for the tax benefits, which are unbelievable for agents. We get special treatment as real estate professionals that other investors don't get. In addition, most agents, if you talk to them, they don't have an exit strategy. They make money, they spend money. They make money, they spend money. They make more money, they spend more money. They make less money, they spend less money. Right. There's no exit strategy. And the one thing we don't do that stockbrokers do, that insurance agents do, and hopefully people will start, is we don't sell our book of business. We just use the phrase, old realtors never die, they just become listless. Wow. They just phase out. And all those contacts go back to the company or in some orphan fund someplace. So I think it's powerful to have an exit strategy, 2 properties a year, start selling your book of business, and then do the things you need to be a top-notch salesperson.
Wow. So you just covered so much in that statement, and we're going to start dissecting some of that. So you mentioned something about 70 days. You had a challenge, 68 or 67 listings?
60, I wanted to do 70 listings in 70 days. That was my goal.
So let's talk about that.
Well, I failed.
Let's talk about your failure, because that was
I only had 68.
That's more than people would do sometimes in years.
I understand that.
How did you first of all come up with that goal target? What motivated you to come up with that target of 70 listings in 70 days? 70
days is 10 weeks. So it's kind of like a 10-week plan.
Okay. So tell us about this plan. I'm sure people are dying to know how to get.
Well, it was basically, I would go in the office at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'd call until I got 3 appointments.
Okay.
Sometimes I got done by noon. Every so often, I had to stay overnight. Slept in the office.
No way.
Yeah, way.
How many days did you, on the 10 weeks, how many days?
I don't remember. All I know is my process is pretty simple. You got to make contacts. Now, the more contacts you make, the greater chance you'll get more appointments.
Right.
The more appointments you make, the odds you'll get some good leads from sellers or some good leads from buyers. Once you have buyer leads and seller leads, you'll get some sales. Now, that sounds maybe a lot of words, but if you took the first letter of each of those words, contacts, appointments, leads for buyers, leads for sellers, and sales, it spells out calls. You got to make the calls. I don't care how you do it. Knock on the doors, walk on the streets, get on the phone. You got to make contacts to get appointments, to get leads, buy leads and sell leads, and then get sales.
Is there a formula, math formula that you have come up with that X amount of contacts means X amount of face-to-face, X amount of face-to-face leads to that many signed contracts? What is the math behind all
I think the basic math is, and it starts out with, for some people, you might have to make 50 contacts to get one appointment. Somebody else may have to make 30. Somebody have to make 100. It's hard to say because each person hopefully hones their skills on closing to get an appointment. Or if somebody calls in about a listing, if they still do that. They did back then. Oh, I saw your sign.
The floor calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a program called How to Turn Call-ins into Walk-ins. How do I get them to come to the office to sign an agreement? Especially now with August 17th, buyer agency agreements are mandatory. And this is what is interesting for me, is when I started selling, I read the Code of Ethics. I'm a very ethical, trusting person.
You got to be if you're 40 years in business.
Yeah. Bottom line is, in the preamble, NAR says we urge exclusive representation of clients. Now, I read that to mean a buyer or a seller. Exclusive representation, signed contract. So if you're working with a buyer, they better have a signed contract. So for 40 years, I have never had anybody in my car who did not have a signed buyer agreement. We were supposed to do it according to the Code of Ethics. Now it's mandated, not just an urge. Now it's mandated after August 17th, you must have a signed buyer agency agreement. So my theory in my head was, sign or get out of my car. I didn't say that to him, but that's what I was thinking. If you don't want to sign, I'm not playing Uber.
Yeah, you're more diplomatic than that. You wouldn't have said that. I figured that.
I know, I wouldn't said it, but I was thinking it.
Back to your 10-week challenge. It's blowing my mind because I don't know anyone else at that level has done that. Tell me more. So you're coming in 9 o'clock. You're making your calls
every day. Go to the office. Now today it's different. People are working out of their home, and they don't. But to block out a chunk of time, to get started. Now, if you're staying at home and working, I would suggest you take your shower, grab your breakfast or coffee, get dressed, walk outside, go to your car, get in the car, get out of the car, and come back into your house to your office. Don't try to do this in your pajamas. Don't try to do it without taking a shower. Pretend you're leaving to go to work. You're just turning around and working in your home or your car or a hotel or wherever you do your business. I don't really care. Sit at Starbucks if you want. Sit at some other coffee shop if you want. But you need to make it a business and a commitment to time.
Yeah. So you're prospecting, whatever it takes.
Yes. And so my focus plan with time was I worked 2 12s, 3 9s, and a 3. That was my week. 2 12-hour days, 3 9-hour days, 1 3-hour days. And I took 1 day off. And everybody knew in the office what day I'm taking off, what day I'm working half. I might need a half a day off on Tuesday and Wednesday. Maybe with the 4th of July being on Thursday, I took off a half a day early on Wednesday, then took Friday off. And so I was gone Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It didn't make a difference, but 2 12s, 3 9s, and a 3. And here's why. Our license law has you put in $5 to an education fund. They did some research years ago. They researched 15,000 agents in Illinois, tracked how long they said they worked and how much money they made, among other things. If you work 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours, what did you make that year? Then they assumed, okay, if it's a 40-hour work week for most people, what do the agents make on an average in Illinois that work 40 hours a week? They had a number. Then they looked at what happens if you work 10 more hours and go 50. So instead of working 40 hours a week, you work 50 hours a week. And it showed the average agent made 35% more money for that extra 10 hours. So I'm thinking 2 12s, 3 9s, and a 3. That's 54 hours. This would be stupid not to stop that. Why stop at 40 when I'm going to make 35+% more by just adding 10 more hours?
That's fascinating.
And I'm already there.
Yeah.
And the 2 12s could be 12 in the morning to 12 at midnight. They could be 3 in the afternoon to 3 in the morning. I would do listing presentations at 1 in the morning because somebody came off a 3 to 11 shift, had dinner at midnight, and I come to visit them. Their dinner was at midnight after the 3 to 11 work shift.
Incredible. Yeah.
So to me, it's just the discipline. See, I have something called the 4 Ds. If you're going to do what I suggest, that I know works, time tested, proven by thousands of agents who follow it, you've got to have a dedication to say, I'm going to do this. You've got to have a desire. It's got to be your yearning power, not your earning power. You got to yearn to say, I want to do this. Then you've got to be dedicated to do it and then have the discipline to do it every day. Not just a couple days, the discipline. And it's kind of like the history of if you want to change your habit, do something different for 30 days and you'll be able to change your habit. By 70 days, you're rocking and rolling. Then once you start that snowball rolling, pretty soon, you really start to, you can't stop now.
Yeah.
And then once you did it, you can always do it. So once I did 68 and 70 days, I knew anytime I wanted to get a large number of listings, just block another 70 days. But at that point, I wanted to fill my pipeline so that I'm always having stuff going out in closings, but stuff coming in. So my bathtub doesn't overflow with too much business that I can't monitor, or too little where I'm worried about the tub going dry. But if I keep the water going out and the water coming in, the bathtub stays at the same level.
Incredible.
And that's my business model for how much I want to make.
Yeah. Talk about the lead sources. You said no developers, no family members. So who were you prospecting?
Oh my gosh. I was actually doing seminars at community colleges to teach real estate and keep those people either as people I recruited from my company or bought real estate from me. So I had a paid farm. I call that my paid farm. I just taught classes and seminars at community colleges and put 30, 40, 50 people in the room. Then I would go into some corporate clients. So in my area, which is Northbrook, North Shore, I worked with Allstate Insurance and with Kraft. And I actually would go to their offices and have an office in their office to train, speak, and then they could come talk to me about real estate. And I don't know, you wouldn't know this, the audience might not, but there used to be an Allstate corporate office in Northbrook with a huge walkway, about a quarter of a mile between the buildings. People would have to walk this walkway. And I would sit there at a table and chairs with cold drinks and a couple of seats and talk to people as they were walking between places. So I did a lot of business staying in corporate offices. I was hardly ever in my office. I was in corporate office. I had my own office at Kraft.
Now, let's say there's a newer agent or someone who's been doing it for a few years who is not a speaker and doesn't have the background you have. How can they go target 70 listings in 70 days? What's something that's more available, readily available for real estate agents right now that are struggling getting listings?
Well, activity needs to have accomplishment to it. Too many agents do a lot of activity and no accomplishment. So I have to look at it this way. Each day, the highest priority of every listing agent is to do this. If you just do that, we're done. If you consistently, persistently do this, you'll get business. And what did I just say? I said, get face to face with somebody who can sign something. You need saleable sellers and bona fide buyers. And there's ways to verify the steps that make a bona fide buyer and the steps to make a saleable seller. So I created a saleability checklist because I'm basically a listing person. I realized you list to last. Listings are the name of the game, always have been, always will be. Plus, it's the best way to control your time. But somebody's got to have buyers too. But the bottom line is I wanted to control my time because I was training and traveling and didn't have time. So I can have 68 listings all at once, but I can't have 68 buyers all at once.
You don't have enough time. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I could be here and my listing is selling right now.
Sure.
But I can't be here if somebody says I want to see a house at 3 o'clock. So that became my mantra. Listings are the name of the game.
Go ahead.
No, if you list, you last.
Yeah, list you last. You mentioned you have a FISBO program as well, and you had a lot of success.
Well, I think a key target among many are FISBOs and expireds. You got two groups of people. The expireds want to sell, have listed, but somehow didn't get done. They're not happy. And I made a phrase up. I don't know if it's humorous or people don't take it that way, but I've always thought there are certain things in life you remember. One is your first love, your second spouse, and your third real estate agent. So obviously, after those failed, if you come in, they're ready. They're motivated. They went through an agent or two.
Right.
And so those expireds they're just ready if you can prove your worth.
What's your script when you're typically how would you and you don't have to role play right now, but what's kind of the message you're delivering to a FISBO or to a cancel who's exhausted and frustrated from all the real estate agents calling them?
Well, I mean, very simply, I'd call an expired and I would say, hi, this is Wayne at On Track Realty. Wondering if you still want to sell your home. What are you talking about? Well, it's not in the MLS anymore. It's not in the MLS anymore. Yeah, I search every morning to look for nice properties I'd like to either market, show, or get involved with, and yours is not there. I didn't know that. Well, I'd be glad to come over today to show you. Can I come by at 10 this morning or 6 at night? Alternate choice close. Yeah. So I'd get listings just by searching the expired list and calling as soon as I could under the do not call registry stuff and followed all the rules and regulations.
What if this is someone who's like, well, I didn't know that, but I do have an agent who's listed the property.
Well, I appreciate that. And technically, that's why I couldn't call you yesterday or the day before, because I love your listing. Because you still have an agent, but I'm now able, under the Code of Ethics and Illinois license law, to be able to contact you because you're not in the MLS, so you don't have an agreement that I'm aware of. And I apologize, but if you want to stick with your agent, that's fine too. You might want to let them know that your listing expired.
And for a FISBO, for sale by owner.
FISBOs, because I had so many listings, I would sometimes have 20, 30 open houses on a Sunday. And so I always had flowers. I had an interesting deal with florists on how I did this, which I could share later. But the bottom line is I have flowers at all my open houses. And I always have some extra flowers. And so as I made sure my agents were set up for my open houses, I'd go knock on the FISBO door that's open and say, by the way, hi, I'm Wayne. I've got an open house and I got some extra flowers. People like to have flowers when they show that. Would you like these? And the other thing I did that brought me tons of business with FISBOs is I hooked up with a top loan officer, Richard Harvey, who's number 2 in the entire country for his bank. And I paid for his signs that said for sale by owner signs, nice signs in metal, with his name and phone number on, as I can get you approved for a loan on this property. So he'd go knock on somebody's door and say, hey, I'd like to work with you. I work with Wayne on properties. He knows you're for sale by owner. He's got these nice signs. Can I put one in your yard? Nice. Now, he's there constantly. Right. Pretty soon, I don't know. You've been doing this, but Wayne gets these. You got to talk to Wayne. He's really good. So he was
giving your advocate.
He was giving me leads.
Yeah.
He's getting loans.
Yeah.
I'm getting leads.
You're getting all the bona fide buyers too, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But also, I get a lot of listings from him.
Right.
Basically giving me a chance to walk in there when they were going to do that.
That's incredible.
So those two worked a lot.
Yeah. You would say that
many other ways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those were powerful ones.
You want to share maybe a couple other ways?
Well, I mean, the concept of, let's take the expireds. You've got to have a script, not to you never knock your competition, you knock out your competition. How come you didn't sell my house when it was listed? And I have a very simple phrase. Gee, I don't know, haven't seen your house yet, let's get together. Because I never went to broker opens. I did not want to see any competitors listing. Bad use of my time.
That's right.
So when I call them, because that would come up, why didn't you show my house when it was listed? Gee, I don't know. Haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together.
Yeah. That's a great line.
Well, because it's honest. It's true.
Yeah.
I've never been there. I don't know. Can you think you can get me 700,000? Gee, I don't know. Haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together.
Wow.
Will you take less percent? Gee, I don't know. Haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together.
Would you take less percentage?
everything is negotiable. Sometimes you take listings for less than you're comfortable with. Sometimes you take them for a lot more. I just closed on a property now that is way above what most people, I'm sure, are getting, not knowing their listing side, but I know. And in one of the seminars we do on negotiations, we talk about how to protect your commission and how to get a upfront compensation as well as getting above market interest rates. But you've got to prove your value. It's a price benefit analysis. It's kind of like the car wash. Do you want the $24 car wash or the $3 car wash? You go through the same tunnel, but one's got $24 attached to it, one's got 3 or 5. So it's like a menu of services. And if I have to do a lot or don't do a lot, or if everything's flexible. I mean, I'm a negotiator, so I think it's foolish to say I'll never cut my rate or always get more than, because it's going to vary. If somebody's giving me 3 listings or leads,
you're going to be more flexible.
I'm going to be more flexible.
Perfect segue. You said I'm a good negotiator. Now you are official coach and trainer for real estate negotiation expert.
We're the Real Estate Negotiation Institute.
Right.
And I'm a master trainer and the state director for Illinois. But we're going through some changes, but that's what I was doing since 2007.
So let's talk about that for a moment. I feel like a lot of consumers, sellers or buyers, they're hiring real estate agents to negotiate the best deal for them or the best terms or the best scenarios. What are some of the tips that you can share with the audience today that are purely necessary to be a good negotiator?
Well, you said an interesting word, and I'll talk about it and I'll tell you why I appreciate the word you said. First of all, an effective negotiator has time on their side. So as we look at the settlement, I don't know how agents will not have to spend at least an hour more on their seller counseling session and their buyer counseling sessions. I'm actually putting together thoughts on that for some seminars because of all the changes and the discussion on compensation and everything else. So the more time you have on your side in negotiating, the better the decision. That's always a simple fact. With time on your side, you can gather information. The more information you have, the better the decision. As you start doing research about pricing, looking at different models, getting some idea of previous properties, in whatever it is, but the more information. And then the third step, as you have a consistent plan, especially with FSBOs, because you got to wear FSBOs down. See, these FSBOs go to FSBO training school. They wear agents out. You call them once or twice, they don't respond, so you quit calling them or knocking on their door. They have a FSBO training school someplace in the world where they learn how to push off realtors, and they win most of the time. But you got to turn that around. See, I got some facts on that. So the third one is patience. But patience without persistence leads to paralysis in your entire business. Because you're juggling their A buyers, B buyers, C buyers, D buyers, new buyers, old buyers, then other stuff comes up. And boy, it's easy to get sidetracked on things. And so you have to be patient but persistent. Because if you're not patient and persistent in negotiations, the negotiations just stop dead. It paralyzes. It paralyzes. Because once you're in a deal, different cultures negotiate differently. I'm doing a deal with a culture that I know wants to nibble. I knew they were going to nibble from day one. So as we started talking, I kept throwing out little bugs and burns and ways to say, you're not going to nibble with us. This is it. This is that. You can try to nibble, but I know what you're doing. And so that's really the key to being an effective negotiator. Know what the other side is doing. It's kind of mirroring. It's called mirroring. I want to mirror to the other side.
Well, let's take it a step further.
Put that in perspective. Yeah. Time, information, and patience. You said, what is a tip? That's a tip, TIP. Put those 3 together. Time on your side, gather enough information to make the best decision, but be patient and persistent.
Right. Wow. Fantastic. Okay. Wow, like you're just throwing so much cool stuff. And by the way, the second or third acronym over here, something that I've learned about you is you're just huge on acronyms.
Yeah, I'm very right-brained. I don't think I have a left brain. I really don't think. If nothing, it's where my hair is parted. My left brain, my right brain. I got a lot of feelings, not a lot of facts.
Yeah,
that's just my life. Thank God.
You said something about let's turn that around, and there was a fact on FSBO, the FSBO school you were talking about. Do you want to share that fact as well?
Well, NAR does research every year and consistently finds around 70% of the FSBOs eventually list.
75?
70, roughly 70.
Okay.
It may go down a little bit, go up a little bit. It's like 70 has been a number that they're, with a margin of error, they're around every single year.
Wow.
So that means 7 out of 10 people that try end up using a realtor. So you need a plan to go after those 7 out of 10, a consistent plan, a persistent plan, and a resilient plan. So that when you do this, you stay alive in the FSBO world. But the consistency is where agents get lost. They call somebody 1 or 2 or 3 times and then quit.
Yeah.
They're not persistent enough. They're not consistent with their message. They have different kind of flyers, different kind of this, drop off that. There's got to be something that people identify. It's kind of like a franchise. No matter where you travel, you know some logo is a franchise. Might not be the best restaurant, but you know, oh, I know what I'm going to get there because that's a
Consistency.
franchise.
So do you want to share that plan? Tell us what does that include?
Well, it's really a detailed plan with forms and writing to make sure you're tracking yourself on how you're going after X number of people, and then how you're consistently keeping track of what they said, what they did. Now we have loads of software these days, CRMs that are out there that do this. Some even give you scripts to say as you do each one, so they got a different script. And the world's changed with people now looking at texts. So if you're going to do anything on your phone to send people stuff, I would say if you're sending them a video, because that's what they want, you better have captions. Because some people don't listen to their phone. They watch their phone when they're at work or on the train or someplace. So if you're going to talk to them about this listing or about how you can help them with this plan, you got to have some captions. So there's a lot of ways. I mean, that's like several hours of things they have to do. But basically, it's being consistent every week, calling on that same FSBO till they either list or sell.
Is there any data on how long it would take before they give up?
Some people are tougher. Some people are just testing the market and see. A lot depends. Now, you talked about, how do you handle commissions? I had a big home that I took a 9-year listing on.
And then the seller signed?
Seller signed.
And there were any cancellation fees or policy to that? Or
I never even thought about that back then. I'll tell you that story if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Went to look at a house. Again, I was the 3rd realtor. So I know she's hungry. Beautiful home, nice area of a small town. And so she says, well, can you get me $700,000? When I called her, I said, I don't know, I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. So I go over, beautiful home inside, well decorated, everything's there. So I'm gathering the data, looking at making sure you're going to leave this. Had some idea of amenities, quality. And so I'm going to go back and go through multiple listing service back then and see if I can find some good comparables and come up with a plan. So I go back. I cannot get this thing over 600,000. I mean, I'm stretching it at 6.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in the 5s. So I called and said, I'm going to come over. Can you get me 7? I said, let's come over and I'll show you what I got. So I go over there, knock on the door. So I hope you can get me 700,000. I said, yes, I think we can do that. So let me ask you a simple question. Are you ready to list with me if we can list it for 700,000? She said, yes. I said, okay. So I took the contract out, didn't make any presentation.
Right.
You got a yes. What do you want to talk about? Screw it up. Turned it around, put down 700,000 list price, said, let's check off the personal property to make sure you're not leaving anything or changing something from what you did before. Signed it, and then I put listing date. February 28th, 2007, expires February 28th, 2016, and turned it over for her to sign. She says, whoa, what's going on? I said, this is the agreement. You said you'd list 700,000, right? She said, yeah, but that's 9 years. I said, I got to tell you something. It's going to take 9 years to get you 700,000. I can't do magic. But if you want to get down to maybe a year or 2, let's look at this number. Put it on for $595, got multiple offers for, I think, $612 or $613.
Incredible.
Yeah, I can give you your price if you'll give me the time.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but I've heard you've never had to cancel a listing.
That's correct. I never had an expired listing.
Expired listing.
Never had an expired listing in 40 years.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
It's very simple. We have an agreement. A month before, we got to extend whatever agreement is. If it's 6 months, 6 weeks, a year, whatever. Well, when we start talking, we have a pyramid that shows how we're going to adjust prices over time. And they initial that and say, okay, we'll start at X amount, and in 9 weeks we'll go here, and 18 weeks we'll go here, and 3 months we'll go here, and then we'll be down here. Okay, we're down here now. This one didn't work, so we're going to the next one. Well, I don't know, Wayne. I don't know if I want to drop my price like that. Well, I mean, I thought we had an agreement, and you trust my judgment. And I feel that I'm giving you honest data based on the material in the MLS and other data, and I show you how I arrived at those numbers. So in this case, rather than make you feel uncomfortable, maybe it's even better for us just to end our relationship now, and you can find someone who will go along with your plan. But my plan says this is what I believe as a profession we should put on the market, and I see nothing that changed it. So I guess if you want to stay with me, we're going to have to make these adjustments, or I'd rather just cancel now. Well, there's a month left. I said, yeah, but it's not going to work out. If you're not happy today, you're not going to be happy for the next 30 days.
I mean, Chris Voss has written a book, Never Split Difference,
Sure.
Phenomenal book as well. And he says one of the superpowers when it comes to negotiation is the ability to walk away, right? Having the ability to be able to
Walk away power is critical.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's critical, and most of my negotiation material comes from Harvard's program on negotiation. They got a huge program that executives go to and spend tens of thousands of dollars for. Top authors, Getting to Yes by Bill Urey and Roger Fisher was the first book on negotiations. Lee Thompson's right here in Illinois at Northwestern. Deepak Malhotra's got a tremendous program. Bob Cialdini does. Harvard's got the best business negotiation material, which we've adapted to real estate, versus a real estate agent creating stuff, just real estate. Mine's come out of business and adapted my scripts, my thoughts. So the BATNA is something they created, which is just as important as that. It's the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And I spend a lot of time teaching people how to use a BATNA in their presentations with listings and buyers. What's our best alternative to a negotiated agreement? It's called a BATNA. And again, created by Harvard. And so that becomes, I think, probably the top thing besides walkaway power, which means you don't have anything, to making sure you can bring the BATNA in your conversation so they understand how the best alternatives are. Sometimes it's called a plan B to me. I think that's where plan B came from, plan BATNA, but I can't prove that part. Because if you don't have a plan B, you're in trouble.
I love it. That's phenomenal. How do you handle and tackle price reductions? Because having that many listings, and you've had quite a few listings, and never having one expired listing ever before, I'm assuming that you need to be very, very tactical and strategic and experienced when it comes to tackling price reductions.
I learned a pricing pyramid. Just show them a pyramid at different time frames, how we're going to adjust prices over the listing period.
Expand on that. What does that mean?
You take a pyramid.
Sure.
At the top is small tip.
Of course.
That's the highest price.
Right.
You limit the number of people that are going to see it at that price.
Right.
But as you get further down, the pyramid gets bigger and the price came down.
Sure.
This is supply and demand.
Right.
So on down at this low price, we're going to expand to more people. So it makes more sense. The sooner I can get to the price that attracts the most people, that's based on the market. It's facts based on facts based on a good CMA.
So, and you're referring to, for audiences, intelligent pricing timing chart, right?
That's
the pyramid.
another way of looking at it.
Right. And again, oftentimes you have sellers that are saying, this is my bottom line. I'm not going to take anything less than that, right? But that's still on the higher end.
And that's where the walkaway comes in. See, I have a simple phrase that everybody remembers. You don't need them all. You don't want them all. You ain't going to get them all. My job is very simple as a real estate agent. Everybody listening's job is very simple. It just ain't easy. I got to find, attract, and keep enough clients to make the profit I want from my business plan. I got to find, attract, and keep. Go to the office every day or come home and get on the phone, knock on doors, meet people at coffee shops or exercise places or restaurants. I don't really care. Find, attract, and keep enough clients to make my profit. How do I get clients? Got to make contacts. Got to get appointments. Got to get leads. Eventually I get the sales. So it's all numbers. This is a numbers game. This is nothing more than a numbers game.
then why is the case in real estate that there's 87% failure rate?
Well, first of all, I'm very biased on that. Very few companies train how to sell. They train on forms, they train on basic things, doing call registries. No, not how to close. So my whole life is built on providing lots of stuff to real estate agents. In my coaching, in my seminars, in one-on-ones. L for listings, how to get listings, you list to last. Objection handling. What does no really mean? People have no idea what no really means, most agents. Selling skills. Most agents, J. Douglas Edwards was a genius on teaching closing across the world for corporations. I think he was in every country imaginable that had businesses. He went to work there. And he found out that in the corporate world, salespersons closed on the average, they took 7 no's before they got a yes. 7 no's. So obviously, I would bet right now, if you asked 10 agents randomly to list the different kinds of closes they use, I bet you couldn't get more than 3 or 5 or 7. So you've got to know how to close and keep closing in a different way. So I believe there's magic in 3s. There's a lot to be said. And so my theory is, if you always close no more than 3 times, but always close no less than 3 times, you get what you want most of the time, and that puts people beyond repair. They'll give you 3. After 3, you're gambling. You might irritate them. They might get, I told you no. I told you no. 3, they'll give you 3. So you got to learn at least 4, 5, 6 closings in selling to be able to know what 3 to use. But if you only got 1, you're screwed. If I can say that on this podcast, you know what I mean. You're not going to happen. You can't be that good using the same closing all the time. It'd be like if a restaurant had 1 item on their menu. Who's going to keep coming there?
Right.
You got to have variety. So you got to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different closes so that you can pick 3 based on the mesh of your personality style, their needs, their wants, because you're blending.
Incredible. Wow.
Now, I didn't finish. So that's the S, sales. T is for time control. Again, too many agents confuse activity with accomplishment. They look busy, but nothing happens because they're not focused on their goal like a laser beam. And then the A is for attitude control. You got to wake up with a good attitude. I don't know what you want to use. You want to meditate. You want to read some motivational books. You want to listen to a program, an Audible, but you got to have something to get you started each day. So LOTSA, lots of stuff. You put together lots of stuff, you got a powerful business.
In today's world, again, we talked about diversification and failure rate and settlement and so many things, just movement in the business. Something you're a big proponent of, huge proponent of, and advocate of is financial literacy and making sure that there's residual and passive income coming in. I've heard this now from a few people that Wayne's told us that you got to buy at least 2 properties a year.
I preach that. Every agent I come in contact with, I tell them repeatedly, buy at least 2 income properties a year. To currently be in my coaching program and stay, no matter what your volume is, you got to buy 3 a year. You're going to pay me more than get you to buy more. If you don't buy 3, I'll find somebody else that wants to be coached.
So let's talk about that.
So I think 2 a year, because most agents do not have an exit strategy, Rafay. They have no exit strategy. And they don't take the tax benefits.
Cost segregation and depreciation.
Depreciation is one. We have the 20% rule that's still in effect for 1 more year, depending on who gets elected. We got the Section 179 deduction, unlimited passive losses for real estate professionals. I mean, investors don't get that. And so plus you've got a tenant who can become a buyer. You've got a built-in base of clients.
Right. So for audience and real estate agents watching this, what type of properties are you
I think whatever works for you. I've bought single families. I bought duplexes. I have multi-units. I do not buy commercial. I do not buy condos.
No condos
scare me because the assessments can kill you.
Yeah.
If something has to happen and they need a big expense, you're going to get hit and you can't raise the rents. So it doesn't make, as long as my numbers work. Now, I am biased towards units that I can get approved for housing choice vouchers because they get the highest rents and the money's guaranteed by the government. So I'm very biased on housing choice vouchers. Some of my best tenants are housing choice. I got tenants for 30 years in a property. Housing choice vouchers, 10 years, 12 years.
What's the most amount of doors you've had in your in the peak? How many units have you?
186 properties I've owned.
And you manage them yourself? Or
I thank God for Excel spreadsheets. Thank God for home warranties, which I own the company. And thank God for having a good group of people that can do repairs quick. But also the key is tenant selection, because I'm not turning a property over. Yeah. And people that like my building and somebody who's, they find somebody for me. Likes like likes. I got buildings where the entire buildings, they're related in some way. Cousins, aunts, sisters, mothers. It's one big happy family and one big 12 unit. Yeah. So, I mean, tenant selection is huge. And long-term tenants, because if I'm not paying money to turn the place over, repaint, clean, freshen up, do whatever, I got a good deal going.
Incredible. Any particular location or type of sort of areas? A, B, C type of building, A class, B class? I mean, is there some strategy to this?
No, it's just numbers. It's just numbers. Yeah.
And what do they look like? I mean, what are you targeting?
I've got houses that have 6 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. I've got a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I've got a multi-unit, 6. I got a 12. I've had duplexes. What I did originally, I started converting older homes in college towns to 2 units and putting in housing choice voucher people. Buy an old home, all you do is pop in a kitchen, and the bathroom was usually upstairs, pop a bathroom downstairs, and you got 2 units, both with guaranteed money. So I did real well converting older homes into income properties.
Fantastic. Wayne, you're obviously a coach as well, and you're a trainer. Tell us about the training sessions that you do. I believe there are 5 of them. There's listing, there's objection handling, there's negotiation. Share with us a little bit more about it.
I love to sit down with an office and ask agents, what do you feel really is important to you? A survey. Do you need more information on listings? We can do the list to last program. Do you want to get objection handlings? The sale begins when the customer says no. Do you want to do selling skills and learn some tracks and techniques to be a better salesperson? Do you want some time management and planning a budget and having a plan to make those calls every day till you get an appointment? Do you want to have some attitude control, or do we combine those? And usually I let the company or the agent decide if they want something. If they want negotiations in that, I've got a program on cultural factors in negotiations, got a program on negotiating across generations, got a program on mastering email and texting in negotiations, called Before You Hit Send. I will customize what somebody really wants. And that's been the strength of what I do. And if I can't do it, I've got loads of other trainers that can handle that topic. I just created a project a couple of years ago. A good man, Bob Cialdini, wrote a lot of books on influence and persuasion. So my program was, you've got to persuade before you persuade. How do you persuade people so you can persuade people? And then again, J. Douglas Edwards on closing. I just think so many agents don't have enough closings to be able to close 3 times. Because once again, in real estate, if you close no more than 3 times or close no less than 3 times, but always close 3 times, you'll never push people beyond repair.
Can we role play maybe to see how that looks like in action?
Sure.
Is this a FSBO or a canceled or
what do you want to be?
Let's just do canceled and expired because they're more in quantity, right? So you're calling me. Who is this?
This is Wayne at On Track Realty.
Thank you. I've been getting calls from real estate agents.
The reason I'm calling is I just wanted to find out. I'm kind of very serious about properties I like to look at and see how they're doing, and ones I would like to talk to people about, and maybe at some point even sell. But I just noticed your property's expired, so I'm wondering if you still want to sell.
No, I think I'm gonna keep it off market. Thank you very much.
Okay, and how long do you keep it off the market, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I've been bombarded with calls all day long.
Yeah. Well, that's very critical. I think that's great. But are you aware of the fact that all those forms your agent brought to you on the table, the disclosure form and any other forms you can't use legally because they're copyrighted?
No, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
you'll have to have an attorney or somebody draw up forms for you if you want to go that route, because those are copyrighted forms and they belong to a multiple listing service or that company. And I doubt if they'll give you permission. But I do have some sources that you could get that stuff done with attorneys if you don't know anybody, or we could talk maybe about just letting me have the opportunity to see what I can do and show you what my skill set is.
Yeah, maybe I got to talk to my wife and get back to you then.
When would that be a good time?
I don't know. I got to talk to her.
Should I call you back tomorrow or Friday?
So you'll just keep going on and on until, just keep handling that objection. So
Just alternate choice.
now, majority of the real estate agents would have just given up the first time, right?
okay.
It's like, yeah.
Well, you didn't say no.
Yeah.
You didn't say no to me.
Yeah.
All you said was, I got to think it over. I got to talk to my
Smoke
wife.
screens
I
or
can do it
objections,
myself. No
Yeah.
problem. Those are, see, you didn't read. See, agents see that as rejection when all it was an objection.
Wow, that's powerful.
Somebody saw that as a rejection. Oh, you want to talk to me? Goodbye. Okay, thanks. I saw it as an objection. Let me try to handle it. And you could have told me some other stuff.
Yeah.
This is kind of crazy. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this. I had a briefcase that had pockets on the outside. When I went on a listing presentation, I always had my slippers hanging out the side.
I know where this is going, but
Yeah. So what's that? Well, I don't know how long it's going to take before you think it over tonight. I mean, I'm willing to stay.
grab that couch.
Yeah. I'm happy. Just
Something our good friend Sohail Salahuddin also does. He's like, he brings a briefcase, and whenever someone's saying, "Yeah, I'll think about it and I'll get back to you," he's like, "Oh, no problem. Take your time. You can think all night long." I brought my toothpaste and my toothbrush. I'm just gonna take that couch and I'm gonna camp over there, and you can take as much time when you're ready. Just come let me know.
I will share a corporate story, not real estate.
Yeah.
I was in Wisconsin wanting to train a corporation, and I know the guy was tough. So I got into his office, and he was on a pedestal. So he looked above you. So he was like God, and you're sitting down here lower. And so I'm talking about my program. I can do this, this, this. And I said, okay, when can we get the ball rolling? And he looked at me quietly. Didn't say a word. Just looked at me. Then he looked down, looked at me. I'm looking at the clock, and he's not talking. Just a minute. And I'm not saying a word. He's not saying a word. So he started doing some work on his desk. So I pulled out some stuff in my briefcase and sat there. 17 minutes later, he said, okay, if you can do that to me, you can train my agents.
That's fantastic.
I said,
What a
you know
great
what?
story.
2 more seconds, I would have given in. And he laughed. See,
What a phenomenal
because
story.
when you ask a question, you wait for the answer. That's another problem many agents have who don't produce. They don't know how to use silence. If you take the word silent and rearrange the letters, I wonder if you can think quickly what it spells.
I'm trying.
I'll make it easier for you.
Word.
If you take the word listen and rearrange the words, you know what it spells. Silent.
Silent.
That's the problem. We talk too much.
Yeah, I
We
love
talk too much. We don't listen. As soon as they have a 30 seconds, we start, what did I tell you about this? Can I show you this? They never said anything yet. They won, you lost. It's supposed to be a win-win, not a win-lose.
Wow. It's incredible. Wayne, give us, towards the end of the segment here, 3 tips, actionable items that audience can take today, implement, and start seeing some results right away. Top 3 tips.
Well, I really feel it's setting up focus like a laser beam on your plan. Got to have a plan. There's so many things to say. I'm assuming we all have a business plan. I'm assuming it's built on numbers and activity. And hopefully just that calls thing might be good. Remember, how many contacts do I need to get appointments? And hopefully as I learn more selling skills, learn more closings, maybe in 2 years, only have to make 10 contacts to get. But here's the key. Each week, bring in a saleable listing first. If it's not saleable, don't bring it in. Worse than no listing at all is an unsaleable listing. Don't need them all, don't want to get them. Second thing, if they're not in any order of importance either. Second thing is to try to sell in-house inventory because your company looks better. So if your company has a lot of listings and you can sell in-house inventory, other people like to hear that your record or a representation of selling your own stuff, you're pretty powerful. We list them, we sell them, versus we list them and somebody else sells them. That's not as easily done today because of the way the business model is going in the process. But if each week you bring a saleable listing in first, separate the lookers from the buyers, and try to sell in-house inventory. Those are 3 important tips. Listings first if you want to sell listings, separate lookers from buyers, so you're taking out a bona fide buyer, and then try to sell in-house inventory. Those are powerful.
Fantastic. How can people find you?
They could probably call you. I'm kind of quiet these days because of other projects I'm working on. So if a company wants to call me, my email is wayne@waynepaprocki.com, and that's the best way to leave me an email of some things. But hopefully my model of working now is going into companies like yours and letting a company let me do some things, or a regional office or corporate group or some boards, but yeah,
absolutely. Well, we're planning on partnering up with you very, very soon for several sessions here over the course of next 12 months. And whoever enjoyed this segment, we're going to have some of these sessions here in the office at the Kamar Group headquarters. So reach out to me, DM me, and we'll share the details when we're going to have Wayne in the office.
And while we're doing that, if you've got some questions or some thoughts, share them with him. He can send them to me if you don't want to send me the email for privacy purposes. Yeah.
Or we can have you back on the show.
Whatever you want to do. Flexibility is the name of the game in this business.
I love it. Well, that's it for today. Hopefully that was enjoyable. If you appreciate and enjoyed that content, please reach out, DM us, engage, show some love here, and subscribe to our channel. We'll talk to you soon.